This video was sponsored by EV, Australia's very own Tesla and electric vehicle sharing platform. Hey everyone, you were Tesla Tom, and thanks so much for joining me today on my YouTube channel where I discuss Tesla, electric vehicles, and renewable energy. If this is your first time to my channel, then hello and welcome. Take a moment to hit that red subscribe button, that way you stay informed of any new content, and it also helps my channel to grow as well. Today we're going to look at the total cost of ownership between two electric vehicles in Australia, the Tesla Model 3 and also the MG ZS EV. We're going to do that and much more right after this. Hey everyone, welcome back, and as I said today we're going to do a total cost of ownership comparison between two electric vehicles in Australia, the Tesla Model 3 and also the MG ZS EV. Now we've done previous cost of ownership comparisons before, including the Tesla Model 3 and the C200, and also the Tesla Model 3 and the Toyota Camry. So make sure you check out those videos as well, and I'll leave the links to those in the description below. Alright, so we're going to look at the New South Wales government's website, their Transport for New South Wales department. They've got a very handy electric vehicle section, and there is a total cost of ownership calculator where you can compare two vehicles. They can be either electric vehicles, plug-in hybrids, or even petrol vehicles. You can compare them side by side, and then this calculator can help you decide whether an electric vehicle is right for you. And just to start off guys, I'm not affiliated with the New South Wales government in any way. I don't work for them. I don't receive any financial benefits for promoting this website. This is just my commentary of this website because it certainly is a good starting point for anybody looking at electric vehicles. Alright, so let's get straight into it. So let's compare a battery electric vehicle versus another battery electric vehicle on this side. And then on this side I put Tesla, make that Model 3, and 2021 Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus, which is the newest type of Tesla you can get in Australia, 2021 version. RRP of 66,900. I think the price has come down since this calculator was made, so obviously these calculators aren't 100% accurate. Of course, this is only a guide. I always recommend you do your own research after looking at these guides. So battery range of 415 kilometers, possibly a tad high. It's probably more around 380 to 400 kilometers of real world range. 5 seats, 13 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers for fuel consumption. On this side, let's select the MG ZS EV 2021 edition. RRP of $40,990, making it the cheapest, most affordable electric vehicle you can purchase in Australia currently. Battery range of 263 kilometers. I think this is a little bit overestimated in my opinion, but of course if you own an MG ZS EV, please leave a comment below to tell me your real world range. Seats 5, and interestingly fuel consumption of 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is a bit higher than the Tesla Model 3. I think it's because it's a bigger car. It's an SUV versus a sedan. That's basically it. You know, people ask me all the time, what is it actually like to drive a Tesla? How long does it take to charge? Can you take it on a road trip? How fast does it actually go? And that's when I say to them, why wonder when you can experience it for yourself? Because with EV, Australia's very own Tesla, an electric vehicle sharing platform, you can experience what it's like to own a Tesla beyond a short test drive. With EV, you can hire it for a few days to try before you buy. You can rent it over a weekend and take it on a road trip somewhere. Or you can rent an electric vehicle as a gift to surprise that special someone who's always talking about Teslas. You know exactly what I mean. So visit ev.com.au/TeslaTom and use my code TeslaTom to receive $30 off your first rental. With a growing fleet of Teslas and electric vehicles, there's sure to be an EV car to rent near you. And now, back to the video. And let's press next to compare the two. Okay, next screen asks me how many kilometers I drive per annum. So let's put 20,000, which seems about average, 20,000 kilometers per year. We'll just use the basic parameters for now. So let's press next. And I won't add solar or battery at this stage. I'll come back to that after we look at the initial summary with the default settings. So let's press submit. Of course, to our friends who are watching this from overseas, please keep in mind these are Australian dollar figures. I'm in Australia. Obviously convert these prices back to your own currency back home, and obviously look at your own prices as well for the corresponding electric vehicles. These are for Australian cars in an Australian situation. Okay, so 2021 Tesla Model 3, 2021 MG ZS EV. Total on-road cost $69,392 versus $42,267. So obviously you have to pay almost $30,000 more for the Tesla Model 3. This is very different from what I'm about to explain in terms of depreciation and total cost of ownership. I'll come back to that very shortly. Monthly running costs, you're looking at $130.94 for the Tesla, $244.55 for the MG. Carbon emissions, so over 5 years, with a Tesla Model 3 charging purely from the grid, not from solar or batteries in Australia, which has an energy mix bias towards coal at this stage in 2021, you are looking at producing 10.51 tons of carbon dioxide versus 14.8 for the MG. Again, I must stress that the MG is a bigger car. It's an SUV versus a sedan for the Tesla Model 3. Battery range, I went through this before, 415 kilometers versus 263 kilometers. Let's scroll down a little bit more. All right, so this is the all-important part of the website. So depreciation of $48,101 versus depreciation of $29,472 for the MG ZS EV. Now, I've received a lot of comments about the depreciation of the Tesla Model 3. A lot of people have said to me that this is possibly overestimated, and I think you're probably right, although we don't actually have a 5-year data at this stage for the Tesla. It hasn't been out this long in Australia yet. The first Tesla Model 3 was released in 2019 in Australia, so we've only got data for 2 years. But certainly at this stage, the Tesla Model 3 has not depreciated too much, but it's really hard to gauge because in 3 years' time, we really don't know how much the price is going to drop. So what is depreciation? It's basically the drop in value of your vehicle. So essentially in 5 years' time, your Tesla Model 3, instead of being worth $69,392, is going to drop by $48,101 if you believe this website, of course. If you think the depreciation is more like $10,000, then you're saying to me that in 5 years' time, this car is worth $59,000. That's essentially what it is. And same with the MG. This website's saying at the moment you can buy a brand new MG for $42,000, but it's going to drop in value by $29,000 in 5 years' time, making it approximately $13,000 in value. Now, before I go any more in detail for this page, you must understand that even though the initial prices are $69,000 for the Model 3 and $42,000 for the MG, this website actually ignores that figure, funnily enough. It doesn't actually put too much value on the initial price. Obviously, I understand as the consumer, we've got to front up that much money. But in terms of 5-year cost of ownership, it actually looks at the depreciation much more significantly than the initial cost. So it's looking at basically how much have you spent or how much value have you used up of the car in 5 years' time, and then it divides that by the amount of time you've owned the vehicle. So really that depreciation is all important rather than the initial sale price. So keep that in mind when you are reviewing these figures for yourself when you look at this website. Okay, so now we've got some understanding of what depreciation is. Now, $48,000 for the Model 3, whether you think that's too high, that's what it is on this website. That's the number we're going to stick with, versus the MG, which apparently will drop by $29,000 in value in 5 years' time. So in terms of fuel, the Model 3, $2,643.05 in 5 years, versus $3,719.62. So what is fuel? Cost of the fuel component over 5 years based on your driving habits and distance, as well as the cost of fuel and electricity, includes any reduction in charging costs from home, solar, or batteries. Now, I think the difference here is basically down to the efficiency of the vehicle. And we've gone through that previously in the previous page, telling us that the MG ZS EV has a fuel efficiency of 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers versus a Model 3, which has a fuel efficiency of 13 per 100 kilometers. Obviously, if you want a more efficient car, you want that number to be as small as possible. So using less electricity for the same amount of range. And again, I think it's also to do with size. So the MG ZS EV is a bigger car. So for the same amount of range, you're going to pay more for electricity. In terms of maintenance, now this is also interesting. The Tesla Model 3 is going to cost you $2,323 versus the maintenance in a MG of $8,925. Now, for those of you who don't know, Tesla don't actually require you to service your car regularly to keep the warranty, which incidentally is 4 years for the for the car itself and 8 years for the powertrain, which includes the battery and the motors. Versus, I think the MG, and again, if you own an MG, please leave a comment below. The MG has a servicing schedule, and this may possibly increase the price of the maintenance, where you've got to bring it into the dealership to get it serviced regularly, possibly even for software updates. Again, not an MG owner, let me know if you are. So the maintenance is going to make a big difference for your MG versus a Tesla. And then the last section here is the taxes and duty, which includes luxury car tax, stamp duty, standard license plate fee, annual registration fees, such as the rego, motor vehicle tax, other roadworthiness fees. The Tesla is going to cost you more in the long run, $5,003 versus $3,003, so $2,000 more for the Tesla. Now, people have asked me in the comments in previous videos about whether this calculation includes insurance, and that's an excellent question because obviously some vehicles cost more to insure than others. It doesn't actually explicitly mention comprehensive car insurance in any of these calculations. However, if I scroll down here, it does include something called CTP insurance, which is compulsory third-party insurance for our state of New South Wales, and that's basically to cover medical costs should you come across an accident. So the CTP insurance and also third-party insurance is factored in the running costs. I haven't actually seen anything about comprehensive insurance either in this calculation, so certainly keep that in mind as well. Okay, so let's go to the all-important figure that the calculator has produced for us in terms of the 5-year cost of ownership for the Tesla Model 3 versus the MG ZS EV. The Tesla Model 3 over 5 years is going to cost $55,957 versus the MG $44,145. So a bit more expensive to own the Tesla over the MG. Obviously, there are other differences with regards to the quality of both cars and also the range of both cars. But if you're talking about pure finances, looking at two electric vehicles, so apples and apples in some regards, the Tesla is going to cost you $10,000 more over 5 years, despite being almost $30,000 more upfront when you first purchase the vehicle, because there is some catch-up involved with the maintenance cost and also some in fuel costs as well. And that is why the gap narrows between the two cars over 5 years. And again, I must stress, this is taking into account the depreciation, this figure here, rather than the on-road cost. That's why this seems lower than the initial price that you paid, because it assumes that after 5 years, when you come to sell the car, you'll have some residual value in that vehicle. It doesn't take that into consideration when you're calculating the cost of ownership. Hope that makes sense. Alright, there you go, guys. That is my first comparison between two electric vehicles. Some might have argued in the past that the depreciation cost might have been too high for Tesla, given that it's an electric vehicle. But in this video, we've kind of controlled that because both are electric vehicles. So if you're saying that the depreciation in the Tesla is too much in this calculator of $48,000, then you might be able to argue that the depreciation quoted for the MG is possibly too much as well at $29,000 if your argument is that electric vehicles don't depreciate too much. So there you go. That's the 5-year comparison between the Tesla and the MG. Obviously, there are other differences as well in terms of size, range, build quality, warranty, servicing schedule, software updates, features, all those kind of things. But looking at it from a pure financial point of view, a purely financial exercise, that's your figures right there in front of you. I'm going to quickly add on solar for you guys and also a battery to see whether that changes things. So keep these figures in mind, 55,000, 44,000 for the Tesla and MG respectively. If I add the solar on there, it doesn't drop it by too much for the Tesla, so 54 versus 42 for the MG. So and then if I add a battery, drops down to 53,000 for the Tesla and 41,000 for the MG. And down here too, it takes into account the depreciation of both the solar and the battery as well, and also some savings for your home electricity, given that you've got renewable energy such as solar and battery as well. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. And of course, subscribe if you haven't done so already yet. Until the next video, stay safe, and as always, happy charging.